So the Supreme Court has struck down much of Trump's tariffs. I say much because those tariffs only apply to Emergency Economic Powers Act as to still impose tariffs via the tax, which include Section because Trump is manufacturing back to the United States, that many for these businesses to bring their jobs back to the United States. Manufacturing has historically gone down ever since the companies all started offshoring their jobs, taking the jobs all to China and India, Mexico, places like that for cheaper labor, and Trump is trying to get those jobs back to the United States. And there are some negative aspects of tariffs, particularly when it comes to the cost being passed off to the consumer. However, the tariffs are the costs are kind of negated by a drop in imports and lower demand, because if something costs more, then less people will buy it. And less people will buy it, eventually the price of something will come down. That's just supply and demand. And as we look here, that is exactly what's going on because of the tariffs. So overall, the imports are down 5.1%, while the exports are up slightly. And if we look at all the investment in the United States since Trump's tariffs, you can see that many countries have indeed agreed to move manufacturing, move jobs, and invest in the United States. But more importantly, we have Apple, Meta, SoftBank, what have you, of people or companies who want to invest in the United States because the tariffs now make it harder to have the job production and manufacturing in those countries, because then it costs more to manufacture over there than it would in the United States, and that's the incentive. You have to make it more expensive to make the products overseas versus making it in the U.S. And there were some Supreme Court justices who did side with Trump, particularly Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Brett Kavanaugh. This is the dissertation for Clarence Thomas. Neither the statutory text nor the Constitution provide a basis for a ruling against the president. Congress authorized the president to regulate importation throughout American history, the authority to regulate importation has been understood to include the authority to impose duties on imports. Because the Supreme Court said that Trump can't use the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977 to impose the tariffs. He must use the Trade Act of 1974, specifically, more importantly, the Section 301, which is basically protection. So if a country does not fall in line with their agreement on the trade agreement, then Trump and the USTR, the United States Trade Representative, has the authority to impose these tariffs on these countries for not abiding by said trade agreements. So, like, let's say if Canada or Mexico violated the USMCA, we would be with every right to impose such tariffs under the Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974. But if we want to continue to be a country that provides nothing, we continue to send our manufacturing overseas for cheap labor. We continue to erode the working class, erode the job base, and if we want to become prosperous again, I mean, not that we're already not prosperous now, but we could even think about how much more we could be had the U.S. government not sold us out to China and these other countries. Because if we bring our manufacturing back, there's more incentive to get a good paying job and not live off the welfare state. Because currently, Gen Z can't afford homes, they can't afford a decent car, they are having trouble trying to start families, and even many of them are opting not to have families because they can't even afford to take care of themselves. And meanwhile, many of Gen Z are still living with their parents or living with a roommate because they can't afford to live on their own. And I've been graduated from college for over a year. I still can't find a job, and that's sad. And we need more jobs in this country to incentivize working, because if not, then all these people, more people, will go towards the welfare state, and that's not a sustainable way to be. That's more people on welfare state is just a train to communism. And I know that's what the progressives and the Marxists want, but if we want to continuously be in a free society, we cannot afford to erode our manufacturing base. And there are certain aspects of the tariff that may be negative. Let's say if somebody makes a product and like that product can only come from a certain place, or like a portion of that product, a part of that product that's being made can only come from a certain place, those costs are going to be affected. But the whole purpose of tariff is to make the domestic products cheaper and the foreign products more expensive. So that way you incentivize not only purchasing American, but making the products in the United States. So that's really all I have to say on this topic. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future videos.